Hi, welcome back. It's Alina of Financialdemics, where I give you the tips and tools to manage your money, increase your savings and your income, and decrease your debt. And today I'm answering the question, how much do you need in an emergency fund? So let's talk about what an emergency fund is and what it's not. An emergency fund is a bank account where you have money set aside for large unexpected expenses. Now, that bank account can be the savings at your bank, preferably not at the bank that you use on a regular basis, but a bank that is a little bit more difficult to access, such as a bank across town if you want a bank in your city, or even like a bank that is online. Now, this bank account can be a savings. Prefer for it to be like a money market or a high yield savings or a high interest savings, so that you are getting more than what you typically would get in a savings account at the brick and mortar bank. Now, those unexpected expenses, they could be something like, a major home repair or a major car repair or even unplanned unemployment. Now, you know that I'm a big fan of sinking funds, so I try to say, save those expenses for your major home repair and your car repairs in a sinking fund. But hey, if you save it in your emergency fund, that is fine too. That's not an issue. So why do you need an emergency fund? Truthfully, because life happens. You really can't control what happens out here in the world. So the best thing to do is to create that cushion so that when things do happen that are unexpected, you're able to take it in stride or pay for it in stride, really. I can tell you from my own personal experience, when having a car where the transmission goes out and I didn't have the money for it, how that felt compared to having a car where the transmission went out and I did have the money for it. Now, to be clear, I don't like pulling money out of my savings, so I was not happy. But I didn't have as much anxiety about the situation because I knew I had the money. Whereas the first time I had a car that had the transmission went out, I didn't have the money when it initially happened, and I had to figure out how I was going to cover that cost. All right, so now I'm getting to the point. How much money do you need in your emergency fund? Now, that is something that has been up for debate forever, at this point. And what I would say is you need at least 6 months of your expenses in your emergency fund at minimum. I know some people are comfortable with 3 months, and I will say, you have to do what's best for like your situation, right? So maybe 3 months works for you because you work in a job that is in high demand and you can always find another job quickly. I say 6 months because it typically takes a person like 4 to 6 months to find another position, especially if you are making a higher level of income. Now, there's nothing wrong with saving more. Personally, I like to have more than 6 months in an emergency fund. I just think it just makes me feel more comfortable. But at minimum, if you're looking for a target, then 6 months is it. Now, to come up with this number, you have to look at all of your expenses that you pay for in a month. And a lot of people like to just look at their bills for an emergency fund, and you can do that, but I think realistically, that's just your bare bones, right? Just paying your bills is just the bare bones. So it is good to know what your bare bones emergency fund number is. But I think it's really important to target what you really spend in a month, because a lot of times we don't want to be realistic about how we really spend money. So for me, I like to include like the fun money. I like to include the eating out and things like that. How I actually spend my money during the month, because that is more realistic than me pretending that I am not going to order something on Amazon, or that I'm not going to go to my corner store, because I'm going to the corner store. So you have to keep that in mind when you're actually doing your emergency fund calculation. So I truly like to use my true number. And I actually pick a number that I like to stay under as a whole, as far as when it comes to my bills and my expenses. And so that's the number that I use as my emergency fund number. So that's the amount I don't want to spend more than in a month. And then I multiply that number by 6. So just throwing out a random number, let's say that maybe in a month, right, including everything you do, all your little extras that you pay for, that maybe it's $3,000. But maybe if it's bare bones, maybe it's only, I don't know, let's keep it easy, $2,500. So now you have two numbers that you may want to target when it comes to your emergency fund. So that means that your bare bones emergency fund for 6 months, you would need to save $15,000. And then if you want to use your, which again, I advise you use your actual spending emergency fund number, then that number is $18,000. Now you know how much you need to save each month. And just a side note, yes, you should start to try to cut back when you actually like get into a situation where you need to dip into your emergency, like if you were suddenly unemployed. But sometimes it takes a quick second for people to adjust. Not everybody like starts looking at their numbers and start cutting things immediately. That's why I like to use that larger number, that number with all of your expenses, because basically it's actually being more conservative, because you're actually planning for like worst case scenario instead of planning for like this is the best situation. So let's get back to this $18,000 that we're going to work with. When you hear the number $18,000, sometimes that number can be daunting, right? Like, how am I going to save $18,000? And sometimes that makes you think, I'm never going to save $18,000, so forget it. That is not how you should think. Remember, I'm a big fan of a starter emergency fund. So if $3,000 a month is the amount that you're looking at, then your starter emergency fund is $3,000. So go ahead and start trying to save and get to that starter emergency fund amount. And then from there, then you continually just keep saving to contribute to your emergency fund to build it up to that $18,000 a month. If you want, you can just break it down into small chunks and just look at it like, okay, I need to save 3,000, I need to save 3,000, I need to save 3,000 times 3 more times, and then you'll get to that 18,000. And I have so many other videos on how you can save more money to build up your savings, so I will link them here in the cards so you can check those out. But it will take some time, but just don't think that it's something that has to happen overnight. It's not going to, but through consistent saving and paying yourself first, you'll be able to get to that point. So in the comments below, let me know, what ways are you using to build up your emergency fund? Like, what type of either side hustles, or do you have it built into your budget? Let me know. I'm so interested in the different ways people are using to save. If you're still here and this was helpful for you, please hit that like button. It helps get the video out to more people. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. You know you like all of my money tips, and I like helping you with all of the money tips. So I will see you next time with an all new video.